She looked me dead in the eye, smiled at the dinner table, and said, "At least Ethan is marrying someone who can cook, even if she's not much to look at." Everyone laughed, and in that moment, I decided she would never stand beside me on my wedding day. Hey, by the way, this is a brand new channel, and your support truly means the world to me. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. And when you subscribe, drop a comment below telling me what number subscriber you are. I'd love to see how this community is growing, one person at a time. My name is Claire. I'm 30 years old, and I thought planning a wedding was supposed to be the happiest chapter of my life. Turns out it's been a battlefield, not against strangers, but against the people who were supposed to become my family. I'm engaged to Ethan, 32, the kind of man who makes you laugh in traffic and holds your hand through grocery store lines. He's steady, loyal, and he loves me. I believe that. But Ethan comes with an anchor attached, his younger sister, Madison. She's 29, loud, opinionated, and for some reason she's made it her personal mission to remind me I'll never quite measure up. It started subtle years ago. Little digs. Claire's so plain. Or, she's sweet, but not really our family's type. I'd brush it off, smile tightly, try not to give her the satisfaction. Ethan always said she doesn't mean it. That's just Maddie. But words build up like rust. They corrode, even when you pretend not to notice. Then came the dinner. We were at his parents' house, long table, candles flickering, the kind of night that's supposed to feel warm. I was helping set dishes when Madison leaned back, wine glass in hand, and said it, clear as a church bell. "At least Ethan is marrying someone who can cook, even if she's not much to look at." The table roared with laughter. Ethan chuckled too, though I swear he looked guilty right after. Me? I froze. My face burned so hot I thought the candles had jumped onto my skin. I smiled, because what else do you do when you've just been reduced to a punchline in front of the family you're about to marry into? But inside, something shifted. Quietly. Permanently. 2 days later, Ethan asked me who I plan to choose as my maid of honor. I said without hesitation, my best friend Lila. She's been there since college, through heartbreaks, rent splits, midnight Taco Bell runs. She's my person. Ethan's jaw tightened. I think my family's expecting Madison. It's kind of tradition. Tradition. That word hit like a hammer. I stared at him, disbelief mixing with the raw sting from that dinner. After what she said to me? After everything? You think I'm going to hand her the spotlight on my wedding day? He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck. It would mean a lot to them. To my parents. It would keep the peace. And that's when I realized the wedding wasn't just about us. To them, it was a stage, a show. And I was supposed to hand the mic to the one person who had humiliated me over and over again. No, I told him flat out. Absolutely not. Madison will never be my maid of honor. That was the spark. And now, the whole family's on fire. They say I'm excluding her, that I'm selfish, that I'm disrespecting tradition. His mom sent me a text that read, "You're making a mountain out of nothing. Don't punish your sister-in-law for a silly joke." His dad didn't even text. He just told Ethan I was dramatic. Madison? She's been parading around like the victim, posting selfies with captions like, "Some people can't handle sharing the spotlight." And Ethan, he just wants me to let it go. Smile, pretend, keep the peace. But I can't. Not this time. Not on my wedding day. Here's what they don't understand. Weddings aren't just photo ops and speeches. They're declarations. They tell the world who you trust to stand closest to you, who you call family, who has earned that space beside you. And Madison, she's earned nothing but my silence. That night, after the fight, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about every little comment she's made over the years, about the way Ethan's parents laugh at her cruelty like it's comedy, while I'm expected to swallow the sting, thinking about the way Ethan always asks me to keep the peace, as if peace means rolling over and bleeding quietly. And I thought, if I say yes to this, What else will I say yes to? If I let her stand beside me at the altar, am I telling myself, telling the world, that my dignity costs less than tradition? I'm not plain. I'm not beneath their league. And I'm not going to be humiliated on the one day that's supposed to be about love. So I said no. But saying no to Madison doesn't just mean shutting her out of a role. It means standing up to an entire family. It means risking peace, risking appearances, maybe even risking Ethan's patience. And as Christmas lights twinkled outside the window that night, I felt something sharp but steady inside me. Not joy, not anger, clarity. This wasn't just about a maid of honor. It was about me, about finally drawing a line in the sand and saying, here. This is where I stop letting people laugh at my expense. What I didn't realize was that drawing that line was about to drag everyone else across it. And the fallout? It's coming. People think family tension begins with one big explosion, but it doesn't. It's a slow drip. 1,000 little cuts that don't look fatal until you realize you've been bleeding for years. Madison and I have known each other for 6 years. From the very first handshake, she tilted her head, gave me a once-over, and said, "Oh, you're different than I expected. Not warm. Not welcoming, just that. Different." I laughed politely, because that's what you do when you're auditioning for acceptance in a family that isn't yours yet. Ethan told me later, "Don't take it personally. She's just blunt." But blunt in her hands was a knife. When Ethan got promoted at work, she toasted him at dinner with a smile so bright it almost looked real. "Congrats to my brother, always the golden child. Guess even plain girls bring him luck." Everyone chuckled. I choked down my food. When we bought our first apartment, she walked through the door, wrinkled her nose, and said, "It's cozy. Not exactly our family's league, but hey, it's cute." When I wore a new dress to Thanksgiving, she leaned in, her perfume thick, her whisper sharper. "Brave choice. Not sure it's your color, but good for you. Death by paper cuts." And Ethan, he never defended me, not once. His excuse was always the same. "That's just Maddie. Don't give her the satisfaction." But when you never speak up, silence becomes agreement. And every time he stayed quiet, I felt smaller. The irony is, I'm not someone who demands the spotlight. I'm not flashy. I don't crave attention. But respect? That's non-negotiable. And Madison never gave me that. The night after the Maid of Honor fight, I sat awake, thinking about the years of swallowing my pride. About how many times I'd laughed at my own expense to keep the peace. I thought about Ethan's family gatherings, where Madison's jokes landed like darts while his parents clapped like spectators at a show. I thought about how his mom always called Madison our firecracker when she crossed the line, as if cruelty was just personality. And I thought about how often Ethan had asked me to let it go. For me, Claire, just let it go. But here's the thing. Weddings don't erase history. They magnify it. Every old wound gets dragged into the spotlight, dressed up in matching colors, forced to smile for the camera. If Madison was my maid of honor, it wouldn't just be tradition. It would be a humiliation ritual in lace. When I told Ethan again, firmly, that I'd chosen Lila, he looked like I'd stabbed him. "My parents will take this as a personal insult," he said, voice low. I snapped. "Good. Maybe it's time they feel one." The silence after that was heavy. He rubbed his temples, muttered something about avoiding drama. But I was past caring, because here's what he didn't know. My whole life, I've played the role of the peacemaker. Growing up, my dad yelled, my mom withdrew, and I filled the silence with apologies that weren't mine. I learned early that keeping the peace meant swallowing grenades and pretending they were candy. And Madison? She was just another grenade I'd been expected to swallow. Not anymore. 2 days later, the campaign began. First came his mom. A text that read, "Family traditions matter. Please don't start your marriage on a selfish note." Then his dad. A phone call I didn't answer, followed by a voicemail. "You're making a scene over nothing. We've always treated you like family. Treated me like family? If that was family, then strangers had been kinder." Madison, of course, went public. Instagram story. a boomerang of champagne glasses clinking with the caption, "Some of us just can't handle tradition." "Not my problem," her friends commented laughing emojis. Some even messaged Ethan, tagging him, saying things like, "She's just jealous of you two, bro." And Ethan? He scrolled in silence. Didn't defend me. Didn't defend us. That was the night I realized the fight wasn't between me and Madison. It was between me and the version of Ethan who thought keeping me quiet was easier than keeping me safe. The pressure built fast. His parents called daily. Madison texted him paragraphs about sisterly bonds. His aunt even reached out with, "Sweetheart, don't rock the boat. You'll regret this later." It felt like everyone wanted me to bow. Everyone wanted me to choose peace over pride. But I wasn't choosing between two dresses. I was choosing whether or not to let someone who despised me stand beside me on the most photographed, most remembered day of my life. And the answer was no. Every no. I said to them felt like the first real yes I'd said to myself in years. Of course, saying no has a price. Ethan started sleeping restless. He stayed late at work. He stopped making jokes in the kitchen. I could feel him pulling away. Not because he didn't love me, but because he couldn't handle the pressure from the people who had raised him. I don't blame him for being torn. But I couldn't save him from choosing. And deep down, I think he knew. If he chose silence again, he wasn't just choosing Madison. He was choosing who I'd always been forced to be. The girl who smiled while being cut open. I'm not that girl anymore. By the end of the week, the whispers had turned into ultimatums. His mom told Ethan flat out, "If Madison isn't maid of honor, then we don't know if we can support this wedding." Support. Like my love for their son needed a permission slip. That night, I sat on the couch alone, staring at my engagement ring. Beautiful, simple, gold band with a small diamond. I thought about how it had felt when he slipped it on my finger, like a promise. But promises crack when the foundation is weak. And right now, the ground under us was shaking. I had a choice: bend or break the cycle. I chose neither. I chose clarity. I would not give Madison the title. I would not let Ethan's family decide what respect I deserved, even if it cost me peace. Even if it cost me them. Because sometimes peace isn't quiet. Sometimes peace is standing up and saying, "This is where it ends." When you draw a line in the sand, people don't just respect it, they test it. 2 days after I made my choice final, Ethan's parents invited us over to talk. Their house smelled like lemon polish and expectation. Madison was already there, sitting on the couch like a queen waiting for her coronation. She smirked when I walked in. Ethan squeezed my hand. My heart squeezed back. We barely sat down before his dad started. "Claire, let's cut to it. This drama is unnecessary. Just name Madison maid of honor and let's move forward." His mom chimed in. "It's tradition. You don't break tradition without consequences." "And Madison?" She leaned forward, smile sharp. "Besides, who else could do it? That friend of yours with the tattoo?" "Please." I swallowed the lump in my throat. My instinct screamed at me to shrink to avoid conflict, but I didn't. Not this time. "Lila is my maid of honor," I said, steady. "Final." The silence after was suffocating. His dad's face flushed red. "Do you understand how selfish this sounds? We've accepted you into our family." I cut him off. "No, you've tolerated me." "There's a difference." Madison gasped dramatically like I'd slapped her. "You're twisting everything. I've always tried to include you by insulting me, by mocking me at every family dinner, by making Ethan feel guilty for loving me." My voice shook, but it carried. Ethan's mom pressed her lips tight. His dad stood towering. "You're creating division, Claire. This wedding isn't just about you." Finally, Ethan spoke. His voice was low, but it carried weight. "Yes, it is. It's about her, and me, not you, not Madison." For a moment, I saw it. The man who had promised to protect me. But then his mother's eyes filled with tears. His dad's glare hardened, and I watched Ethan's resolve crumble. He squeezed my hand again, but softer this time. Weak. And in that moment, I realized love without backbone is just words. The fallout spread fast. By the next morning, Madison had posted a photo of herself in a silky bridesmaid dress, captioned, Some people can't handle real family bonds. Messy bride, comments flooded in. Some friends wrote, "You'll always be the star, Maddie." Others tagged Ethan, joking about drama before the vows. I didn't comment. I didn't even open the app, but people sent me screenshots. I couldn't escape it. At work, I pretended everything was fine. At home, Ethan pretended too. We cooked in silence, ate in silence, went to bed in silence. Until one night, I found him scrolling Madison's page in the dark. His face glowed blue from the screen. He didn't notice me watching. That's when the question hit me like a gut punch. Was I marrying Ethan? Or Madison's approval? The next weekend, Ethan suggested we meet Madison, just to clear the air. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Maybe a part of me still wanted peace. We met at a cafe. Madison arrived 10 minutes late, oversized sunglasses hiding her face. She didn't order coffee, just crossed her arms. "Look," she said, "I didn't mean for things to get this ugly. But you have to understand, you're marrying into our family. There are roles, expectations." I stared at her. "And my role is what? The quiet outsider who funds the photo album?" Her lips curled. "If that's how you see it." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Maddie," she cut him off. "No, Ethan, you don't get it. If she keeps pushing, she'll ruin everything. People will talk." That's when I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. "People are already talking, Madison. Because you made sure of it. You don't want to be maid of honor. You want to be the main character." Her face hardened. "You think you're strong, Claire? You're not. You're temporary." For the first time in years, I didn't shrink. I leaned forward. "Temporary or not, I'm done letting you treat me like a guest in my own life." Her sunglasses slipped. Her eyes were red. "You'll regret this." I stood. "No, for once I won't." And I walked out. Ethan followed, but his silence felt louder than any words. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Madison had gone nuclear. Screenshots of private texts, half-truths twisted into captions. A post saying, "Imagine marrying someone who doesn't even respect your family." Couldn't be me. Her followers ate it up. Some even messaged me directly. "Why are you ruining everything?" Poor Ethan. Poor Ethan. The man who couldn't choose. I stared at the phone until my vision blurred. Then something inside me broke. Not with tears, but with clarity. If Madison wanted to play public, so could I. I opened my laptop, pulled up the receipts I'd kept quietly for years. Venmo transfers for family emergencies. That always seemed to fund Madison's vacations, not screenshots of texts where she called me pathetic. A recording from one dinner where she'd laughed about me being lucky Ethan. Settled. I didn't post them. Not yet. But I saved them, because sometimes the only way to fight fire is with fire. The next morning, I made a choice. I told Ethan, "If you want this marriage, you stand with me." Out loud, not just in whispers. "If you can't, then maybe we shouldn't get married at all." He froze. His face crumpled. "Claire, please don't make me choose between you and my family." My voice was calm. "I'm not making you choose. I'm asking you to show me which choice you already made." He didn't answer. Just silence. And silence, I realized, is its own answer. That night, I packed a small bag. Not because I wanted to end things, but because I needed to breathe, to remember who I was before Madison rewrote the script of my life. As I zipped the bag, Ethan finally spoke. His voice cracked. "You're really leaving?" I looked at him. "I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving the version of me that begged for scraps of respect. I can't be her anymore," and I walked out. The cool night air hit my face like truth. My phone buzzed again. Madison, of course. This time, just 3 words. "Told you so." I didn't reply, but in my chest something shifted. Not broken, not weak, just clear. This wasn't the end of the fight. It was the beginning. There's a difference between silence and surrender, and I was done surrendering. I set the terms myself. A family dinner, neutral ground, a restaurant halfway between their house and ours, public enough to keep things civil, private enough for the truth to breathe. Ethan agreed reluctantly. Madison? She was the first to confirm. Of course she was. The night arrived heavy with storm clouds. I wore black. Not dramatic, just armor. When we walked into the restaurant, I picked a booth in the back where I could see every exit. Old habit, old survival skill. At 6:07 p.m., they arrived. Ethan's parents first, stiff smiles and sharper eyes. Then Madison, sliding in behind them like the star of a show no one asked to attend. She wore a cream dress, her hair glossy, her sunglasses still perched on her head. She didn't look at me. Not yet. She was waiting for her audience. We sat. Menace unopened. Tension served first. Ethan's dad spoke. "Claire, we're here because things have gone too far. This division, this hostility. It's not how families should act." His mother dabbed her eyes. "We just want peace. We just want tradition." And then Madison, tilting her head with mock sweetness. "Honestly, Claire, you should be thanking me. Do you know how embarrassing it would be if people asked why your maid of honor wasn't family? I'm protecting you, protecting me." I almost laughed. Instead, I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Thick, tabbed, quiet, but loud enough that Madison's smile faltered. "What's this?" her dad demanded. "Receipts," I said simply. Ethan shifted beside me. He didn't stop me. He didn't help me either. I opened the folder. Pages slid across the table one by one. Venmo transfers labeled emergency that lined up with Madison's vacation posts. Screenshots of texts where she mocked me. A transcript of her voice from that dinner, laughing. At least Ethan's marrying someone who can cook, even if she's not much to look at. The table went silent. Madison's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You kept all this?" "That's psychotic." "No," I said softly. "That's survival." Her dad slammed a hand on the table. "This is unnecessary." "You don't air family business." "Family business?" My voice was sharper than I meant. Family business is Sunday dinners and birthdays, not tearing someone down until they're too ashamed to breathe. Madison leaned forward, her voice low but venomous. "You're ruining Ethan's life. Do you even care what this does to him?" That's when I turned, looked Ethan dead in the eye. "This isn't just about me, is it? This is about whether you'll finally choose a life with me or a lifetime of silence with them." His face was pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. And in that pause, Madison pounced. "See? He won't say it, because he knows I'm right. You're temporary, Claire. You always were. He'll wake up one day and realize he traded his family for this." She gestured at me like I was a stain on her tablecloth. I let the words land. I let the silence stretch. Then I pushed back my chair, slow and steady. "You're right, Madison," I said. "I am temporary." Her smile bloomed, smug, victorious. "But so are you." Her face cracked. Just a flicker, but I saw it. That flash of fear when someone realizes they're not untouchable. Because the thing about receipts is they don't just expose the past. They predict the future, and everyone at that table knew it. The conversation turned frantic. Her mom pleaded. Her dad raged. Madison snapped. I stayed calm, not because I wasn't angry, but because anger was what they expected. Calm was scarier. Finally, I gathered the papers back into the folder. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to make this simple. Either respect me as Ethan's partner, or lose access to me entirely.
"No more middle ground," Madison spat. "You wouldn't dare cut us out." I smiled.
"Try me." I stood, dropped a few bills on the table for coffee we never ordered, and turned to leave. Ethan followed, but slowly, torn like a child caught between parents. When we stepped outside, the storm had broken. Rain poured hard, cold, cleansing. I lifted my face to it. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt clean. That night, Madison struck back online. A post. "Some people think screenshots make them strong, but everyone knows who the real problem is," comments piled in. Loyal friends, strangers with opinions, even extended family, half believed her, half doubted. But for once, it didn't matter, because for the first time, I wasn't defending myself. I wasn't shrinking. I was done playing the guest in my own story. Later in our apartment, Ethan finally spoke. His voice was quiet, almost broken. "You embarrassed them." I turned. My chest ached, but not from his words. From the truth buried in them. "I didn't embarrass them," I said. "I exposed them." "There's a difference." He shook his head. "Why couldn't you just let it go?" And that's when I knew. Not because he said it, but because of what he couldn't say. He couldn't say, "I choose you." He couldn't say, "I'll protect you." He couldn't say, "Enough." All he could say was, "Why couldn't you let it go?" So I let go, not of him, not yet, but of the illusion that love without courage is enough. That night, as rain battered the windows, I whispered to myself in the dark, sometimes family isn't who you're born to. Sometimes it isn't even who you marry into. Sometimes family is who refuses to let you feel small. And if you have to stand alone to feel that, so be it. The morning after the diner confrontation, I woke up to silence. Not the kind that suffocates, but the kind that feels like a clean slate. No buzzing phone. No guilt messages, just the hum of the fridge and the steady rhythm of my own breathing. It felt foreign, like I'd stepped into a world where survival wasn't my full-time job. Ethan was still asleep beside me, one arm draped lazily over his chest. I studied him for a long time, wondering if love could survive the cracks that truth leaves behind. Wondering if his silence last night was fear, or loyalty to the wrong people. By noon, the storm had passed. The sky was clean and sharp, the kind of blue that makes you believe in do-overs. I sat at the small kitchen table, scrolling through my phone. That's when I saw it. Madison's newest post. A photo of her with Ethan's parents, all three smiling too wide, too forced. The caption, "Some bonds can't be broken. Blood is thicker than drama." And no Ethan. Not in the picture. Not in the words. Just the three of them, declaring war in pastel colors and fake smiles. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just exhaled, long and steady, like a soldier lowering a weapon after a battle that's already been won. Because here's the truth. Sometimes the loudest message isn't what you post. It's what you no longer respond to. That evening, Ethan finally spoke. "I don't know if we can fix this," he admitted, his voice low, almost breaking. I didn't flinch. Then maybe we're not supposed to. His eyes searched mine, desperate. "Claire, I love you. I love you too," I whispered. "But love isn't enough if it costs me myself." He reached for me, but I stepped back. Not because I didn't want him, but because I wanted me more. The wedding was postponed. Officially, it was because of family circumstances. Unofficially, it was because I refused to walk into a lifetime of battles where my partner never stood beside me. Madison posted cryptic things online. His parents sent carefully crafted texts about misunderstandings and fresh starts, but I didn't reply. Instead, I packed a small bag and drove 3 hours away to a cabin my aunt once left me access to, a forgotten little place by a lake, where the air smelled like pine, and the nights hummed with crickets instead of arguments. For the first time in months, maybe years, I slept without dreaming of confrontation. One morning, I sat on the porch with a mug of black coffee, watching mist curl off the water, and I realized something. I wasn't broken. I wasn't cruel. I was free. Free from begging to be seen. Free from carrying relationships that only worked when I paid the toll. Free from confusing blood with loyalty. And in that stillness, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Do I know what happens next? No. Maybe Ethan finds his voice and proves he can stand beside me. Maybe he doesn't. But for once, my future doesn't hinge on someone else's courage. It hinges on mine. So if you've listened this far, thank you. Truly. This wasn't easy to share, but maybe you needed to hear it, because maybe you've been there too, financing someone else's comfort while starving your own soul. Maybe you've been told you're too much, too dramatic, too selfish, simply for wanting to be treated like you matter. So here's my truth. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your silence. And you don't owe anyone access to you just because they share your blood. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave the table where love is only served with conditions. I'm Claire, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not explaining myself anymore. Thanks for watching. If you believe in stories that remind people to stand up for themselves, please support me. This channel is brand new, and your like, comment, and subscription mean the world. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers so I can keep sharing more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, do you think I made the right choice? Or would you have handled it differently? Because sometimes the ending isn't about who stays. It's about who finally learns to go.